It is time to shine. It is time to shine. Welcome, everyone, to the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. I'm your host, King Jewel here, Julian SmartJewelz. We are locked and loaded for another very special episode of the RTJ show and podcast series. Shout out to all of our wisdom listeners and listeners who are getting exclusive access to today's episode before it even launches and premieres, you all. Shout out to you all who are rocking with us on Wisdom and also on Twitter. But for those who are catching us for the first time, the RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so if you are a millennial, we appreciate you rocking with us. Gen Z, we also applaud you rocking with us. But even if you're a baby boomer, we still have love for all the baby boomers out there that are going to be tuning in or catching the replay for today's episode. So we appreciate you. You can listen and catch all of our episodes from season 1. We're currently releasing episodes from season 2 as I speak on our podcast. You can go to any podcast or music streaming platform that you catch your favorite podcast or music artist on. Search for the Run the Jewelz podcast, and you'll be able to hear some of our progress that we've made all the way from our beginnings in season 1 now to season 2. And so thank you for all of our, again, Wisdom and Twitter Space listeners that are catching exclusive access to today's episode. If you have any questions for my very special guests that we're about to get ready to bring onto the stage, feel free to put them in the chat, put them in the comment section, or even if you're on Wisdom or Twitter, you can come onto the stage and ask any question that you may have in regards to today's topic of discussion. If you're interested in being one of our future guests on our next season that we have coming up soon, fill out the interest form that we're putting in the comment section. If you are a dynamic king or dynamic queen that has a phenomenal testimony, or even if you are a business owner or entrepreneur that is trailblazing and transcending your industry or your niche, we ask you to fill out one of our interest forms and see if you have what it takes to be one of our VIP guests for one of our future episodes. And we appreciate all of our VIP jewels that have been a part of the RTJ show this season. We could not have made the show a success without you. And so I'm about to get ready to bring in my very special guests for our Q&A portion of today's episode. Today's title is How to Get Clients Using Facebook Ads Strategies. If you're wanting to learn how to get more clients or even get your first clients, using Facebook ad strategies, then you're in the right place to be today. I'm going to be talking to a very special guest that I came across from literally having her ads pop up on my timeline on IG and also on Facebook. And so you are in for a treat because this is someone who has literally perfected the craft of doing ad targeting on Facebook and IG, and I believe even via Google too, potentially, that you're going to be learning tried and true strategies, how to target your clients and also how to reel in more clients for your business or for any of your projects that you want to showcase or market to your audience. And so she goes by the name of Miss Amber McDuffie, and she is going to be talking to us about all of her strategies and all of her tools and talents when it comes to Facebook ad strategies. And so without further ado, I'll introduce you all to Miss Amber McDuffie for today's episode. How you doing today, Amber?
Hi, Julian. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very glad to be here. I do think this topic is very important for people who are at all different stages of their business, whether you're a beginner and you haven't gotten any clients yet, or, you're more advanced and you're used to getting clients either organically or through referrals, but you're looking for a way to maybe automate that process or to have something more predictable and consistent in terms of bringing more clients into your business, then Facebook ads are a really good way to do that. So I will say that the strategies that I'm going to share today are going to work best for people who have either, some type of service-based business, or maybe you're a coach, whether it's life coach, business coach, any kind of coach where you're supporting someone else, which ultimately is a service-based business. And even for those who might have a digital product-based business. Just to be clear, that e-commerce strategies are a little bit different. So if you have like an online store, then that is going to be a separate strategy than what I'll share with you guys today.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, Queen, and being with us for today's episode. We're talking to my very special guest, Amber McDuffie, on how to get clients using Facebook ad strategies. Amber, what we usually have our guests tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're originally from, your hometown, where you're streaming with us for today's episode. And also, like, how did you get into the beautiful space of ads, and even specifically Facebook ads marketing?
Yeah. So I claim Knoxville, Tennessee is my hometown, just because that's where I went to high school. So I've lived in a couple states and cities, but that is where I went to high school. So Knoxville, Tennessee. And then I have been here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. If you know Atlanta, you might know the suburbs. So I'm out in Gwinnett County, but Atlanta, if you don't know Georgia like that. And so I have been here for probably like a long time, 17 years, something like that. I've been here. But so originally I was in public relations. Like, that was my dream job. I had always planned on moving to Atlanta and getting a job in PR. And life happened. I had my son my senior year in college. And so that career just did not lend itself to, basically having such a rigorous career. And so having a rigorous career and a small child, it didn't match. So what I did end up doing was I got my master's degree in teaching. So I ended up being in education for several years, and just, being a leader. I've been a leader of sorts all my life, naturally progressed into leadership in education, was an assistant principal for 5 years. But, and I loved education. I mean, I absolutely love kids, but it was not fulfilling me anymore. And I just always was like this serial entrepreneur, always starting businesses and just not really knowing exactly what to do to make it successful. But I was always willing to try something. And in fact, I started my first business just 2 years after my son was born, trying to make that work, but obviously just didn't have enough guidance or mentorship. I didn't meet my first, real entrepreneurial mentor, like a real person who could stand in front of me and really inspire me, until I got married. That was my husband. He's been an entrepreneur pretty much all his life. So I was very grateful to have met him and to really just see what it truly takes to be successful, which is perseverance, keep going. And as you keep going, you start to learn things and figure things out. So just before, though, I became an assistant principal, I had started an online business, and I actually started in e-commerce, but it wasn't an online store that I had passion for, but I did learn ads, initially through that. And so once I learned ads and marketing, like, it took me back to my roots of PR, marketing, communications, and I just fell in love with it. So what I did is I started helping teachers to start, an online business, and how they could market their talents, whether it was through an online course or through coaching. And then, I would start to teach them the Facebook ads as well. So one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that with Facebook ads, you don't have, like I mentioned before, you don't have to have all this experience. You can start with Facebook ads in your business. Because when I did start my online, especially my digital course business, right out the gates, I used ads, and it was never even a thought for me to try to, build a business organically in this space. Prior to that, of course, I had tried different things like website SEO and, using Google My Business, trying to put myself out there in ways that, how can people find me and what I do? But the minute I learned about ads, I jumped on it and didn't even hesitate. And so I have just enjoyed being able to tell people, like, you don't have to wait. There's nothing saying that you have to have so many followers or have made so many sales before you can use ads. And, really the main thing that you need to have is a validated offer, which a way to prove that your offer is valid is to sell it, even if it's just to one person. However, you can actually use ads to validate your offer as well. But the main advantage that you have with using ads versus just organic alone is that you can put your content in front of the ideal people, the actual people who would be most interested in what you sell and who are most likely to take action. So the strategy that I want to go through with you guys today is it's basically a sales funnel, because your ad itself isn't the one thing that's going to sell your offer, but it brings in the right people, and then it kind of deposits them into this customer journey that you create so that they can become aware of you, what you offer, how you solve the problem that they have, do some research about you through this funnel, through your email marketing, through your organic social media. That's where the organic can really come into play. So whether you have a YouTube channel, a podcast, Instagram, Facebook, where can they go? Your website, where can they go to find out more about you, while they're really kind of making sure that you're authentic, that you are a real person, and that you can actually solve their problem. And then that final step is actually getting them to that decision phase so that they can decide, are you the person that's actually going to help them? And, is your offer going to help them so that they can make that purchase from you? And so in order to bring people into that customer journey on a regular, consistent basis, where you're just constantly, introducing your business to new people, I recommend using a conversion ad. Now, the way Facebook is set up, or Meta Business Manager, the way it's set up now, you have to select either lead or sales. It used to just say conversions, but you have to indicate, in advance what you're really going for, which is good. I think that makes it more clear. So where I recommend that you start is with a lead ad, not the lead forms though. Lead forms are a little tricky, that's separate, and they're not quite as effective. So a lead ad, what that is going to mean is that you are basically giving some free content in exchange for your prospects' information, and that is how they become a lead, and that is how they get deposited onto your email list. So with this lead ad, the way it's set up, the way the Facebook ad algorithm works, is it looks for people who are most likely to fill out your form and become a lead. So it's not just showing it to anybody and everybody on Facebook. It's looking for people who take action. So not only that, but you specify what type of people for Facebook to show your ad to. So for example, and I'll use my audience as an example. So I look for people who are already interested in social media marketing. I can literally select social media marketing as an audience. And people who are on Facebook and Instagram who have shown some interest, whether it's that they interacted with content about social media marketing, whether they made a post and used the words social media marketing. If they haven't opted out of tracking, then if they have searched somewhere else on the internet, social media marketing or something related, right, then Facebook can also pull them in. But we all know a lot of people have probably opted out of tracking, which is their right, to have privacy. But in other words, you can look for people who are already interested in the types of topics that your business is related to, or look for people by their, occupation. Like when I used to work with educators and help them start a business, I literally had an interest-based audience of teachers. So I wasn't just, putting my content out there to everybody, which is what it can feel like sometimes when you use organic strategies. But I could specifically say the people who are interested in this topic are who I want to show my ad to. And then Facebook goes to that audience and finds the action takers, who is most likely to become a lead. And it really allows you to spend your budget, really wisely, which what my recommendation generally is about $20 a day, which is about $600 a month, in order to have a consistent flood of leads in. And I always feel like $600 is such a doable thing. So many people start their business as a side hustle. So likely you have a current job where you are basically funding your business and investing into your business anyway. And from there, that gets it jump started, right? So that you are pouring into your business and able to actually get clients back out so that you can start to fund your ads yourself. Now, the next part of this is we don't just, want to make money to pay for ads. You want to be profitable with your ads. So I do have a formula that I use with my clients. I don't want to get too mathy, but I want to be clear. It's not something that I'm holding back, is that when you look at your offer price, you can determine what is the most that I can spend for a lead, right? So that I don't overpay on my ads and end up broke at the end. Okay. So just so you know that there is a way to figure that out before you even turn your ads on. And basically, in fact, if you end up searching on my YouTube channel, I've got videos there where I do talk about budgeting and things like that, where you can find that formula so you can see it and actually figure it out for your own offer. But from there, once you say, okay, if the most I can pay for a lead is, $5, then the moment your ad is costing $6 per lead, you need to turn that off, because you're like, okay, that is not going to be profitable. So it really allows you to be smart and thoughtful about how you spend your money. Now, the other side is not just making sure that you don't lose money, but then to make the money, right? How do you do that? So the funnel that I use most frequently for people who have a coaching business or a service-based business is, once that lead opts in, immediately on the thank you page of the opt-in is your offer and an opportunity for them to book a sales call with you, so they can find out more about your offer, what you do, and it's going to be very related to the lead magnet. So whoever wants that lead magnet should also want your offer. And once they see that booking page, they can decide, okay, well, yeah, I do want to talk to that person and find out more about, this offer. I really feel like this could solve my problem. And if they don't book right away, remember, now they're on your email list. So now you can keep up with them via email and continue to kind of send them back to that booking page to book that sales consult with you so that you can make that sale. And if you have stayed within that lead range, that lead cost range, then with $600 a month, and a minimum is what I recommend and require if someone works with me, is that they have to have an offer, some type of offer that's at least $1,000. Right. And that $1,000 obviously more than pays for the ad and then has that profit left over. And truthfully, what I show my clients how to do is how to get 5 booked calls a month, close on 2 of those. And then so now you have at least $2,000 that you can get from that Facebook ad spend. Now, it takes time to build it up and to optimize the funnel. So please don't hear me say this is a magic trick that all of a sudden you can put in $600 and take out $2,000 overnight. It takes, minimum 30 days to get it, really solid and stable, and then 90 days for the full optimization to be able to start to see. But if you can imagine, 90 days, even 90 days to 6 months from now, is such a better use of your time than posting organically and sometimes just hearing crickets, not seeing any traction at all. So that is basically the sales funnel that you could use, from an ad to a lead magnet to booking a sales call, and really continuing to communicate with that audience through email.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. You're dropping a ton of jewels already to start off for the episode. Shout out to all of the fellow educators, excuse me, that are out there too, like Amber and even myself and others who are in the education space. It teaches you so many forms of process, procedures, and protocol can help you out in entrepreneurship and business endeavors. And so you definitely want to make sure that you are giving praise and giving respect to all the educators out there, because they make a lot of the best entrepreneurs from who I've come across, especially even in watching Shark Tank and other shows. There's a ton of educators that always are able to pivot a little bit easier into the business or entrepreneurship sector. But definitely, we're going to give you a quick commercial break, Amber, just to catch your breath for 1 second while we honor our VIP sponsor for today's episode, you all. We highlight a VIP sponsor each and every episode to make sure that we are giving respect to some of our partners and our sponsors that make our show a success. And so let's take a look and see who one of our affiliate partners are for today's episode, you all. Let's take a look. So again, shout out to our VIP sponsor for today. Comes from Wisdom, our Wisdom app that we exclusively allow our Smart Jewel guests to literally listen in behind the scenes for our episodes for this season and last season. Wisdom app is definitely an audio entertainment app that you can stream and also even broadcast audio shows, podcasts, you name it, or even if you're just trying to build up your audience or tribe online, we highly recommend using Wisdom as one of your apps of choice. And so shout out to our VIP sponsor today, which is Wisdom. If you are wanting to partner with us in any way, shape, or form, feel free to click the link that we're putting in the comment section below to be able to be one of our VIP sponsors for this season's episodes. But back to our very special guest, Miss Amber McDuffie. Amber, tell us like even stay with the education point too, because I'm very interested in hearing about that side. Like when you were working as an assistant principal, not just a regular educator, but even an admin for the school, like what were some of the talents and even some of the skills that you acquired from being in an admin role or even being in an educator's role that transferred over into this space of ads and marketing?
Truthfully, because I feel like I have such an information-based business, even though I do both sides agency and, side-by-side coaching and helping people, a lot of that comes down to educating your audience, educating your clients on, what the right next step would be. And educators just, you guys know how to teach people. you know how to make it make sense, basically. So when people are, watching any of your social content, you can really use that opportunity to shine and to be able to teach the concepts that will allow people to understand. I've had so many people come on to like a consult call with me, and I'll ask them, well, why did you book a call with me? What made you choose me? There's lots of people out there who do Facebook ads. And typically they will say, well, that video that I watched, I felt like, I understood what you were telling me for the first time. I understood what to do or what was next or whatever it was. It just really resonated with them in that way. And so I really feel like educators kind of have that advantage. You know how to kind of build a lesson plan and say, this is what I'm teaching you. And this is, the end point. At the end of this video, this is what I want them to learn. And so I think educators have an advantage in that regard. And then just really as an assistant principal, just the leadership aspect and saying, and teachers, trust me, you are leaders just as much from that classroom, because, teachers are CEOs of that classroom in general. So just kind of having that automatic leadership ability to take charge, to run with things, have to be self-motivated. Nobody's kind of standing over you every moment telling you, what to do. How to get things done. And that is absolutely necessary in business. And even just leading your clients. I know I've had to kind of come to points where I've led clients through either a mindset shift or whatever, where they just felt a little overwhelmed. And that leadership skill came in handy, because I was able to get her through that so that we could really focus on what she needed to focus on to make money in her business.
Yeah, it's definitely a very less sought after career field because of the burnout rate, especially for our educators pre and also post the pandemic recently. But we always definitely pay homage to all of the educators that have hung in there and continued the fight to educate our youth and uplift our youth. And so again, shout out to all the educators that are out there. Listeners, if you have any questions for my very special guest, Miss Amber McDuffie, feel free to come on to the stage, or even in Twitter, feel free to come on to the stage and ask any questions that you may have of my very special guest, Amber McDuffie. But stay with that point too, what you were leading into before the sponsor break, where you were speaking about the funnels. For those who may not know about just the simple terms of funnels, who are not in the ad or marketing space, like what is a funnel? And also, how can you create funnels for your business or even for your service?
That is such a good question, because sometimes I do kind of get into marketing speak and realize that term is not as, basically understood as I sometimes think. But truthfully, a funnel can be so many things. And a funnel just really represents you having this person who is now aware of your business and taking them on a very strategic and purposeful journey of leading them up to making a decision about buying your product. And that decision could be yes or no, but nonetheless, you have strategically led them to make a decision, versus them just kind of hanging out there and trying to figure it all out on their own. And so I would say, in the broad sense, that's really what a funnel is doing, is purposely taking people on this customer journey. And so the customer journey is kind of made up of 3 parts, where it's just awareness. People can't buy from you if they don't know that you exist. So you start there and just say, hey, I want to get my business in front of more people who can now at least, have an opportunity to look into what I offer. Then the next step is, once they are aware, now they can actually consider buying from you. And a lot goes into that. First, they have to kind of decide that they like you and that they trust you. And so that's where some of your content can come in, but you also have to educate them on how your product or service will actually benefit them and what it would do to actually solve their problem, and fully paint that picture for them. What are the outcomes that they could expect? What is that transformation going to look like? So that type of content in there, which you may have heard of as nurture content, is not just about building a relationship. I mean, that relationship is built if you consistently stay in front of them, but then strategically having the type of content that allows them to make a decision. How can they access your product? When can they access it? How long? What's the price? Basically giving them all of the information that they need in order to make a decision. And then that final stage is the decision, making sure you have a clear call to action. What do they need to do next? Do they need to book a call with you? Do they need to click this button here? Do they need to sign up and enroll? Just being very clear on what their final step is so that they can decide yes or no. Now, obviously, there's different types of copy that you can use through that funnel to really move people along. And at certain steps, conversion copy is really going to be important. In fact, at every step, I feel like you need to be telling people about your business or excuse me, your offer. So even if somebody is just now becoming aware of you, you may not sell super hard to them, but at some point you need to make an offer even within that first meeting. They need to know what you have to offer so that they can start kind of on that research journey about who you are and if this will actually work for them.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it has to be clear and concise. And do you recommend for those that I know I hear a lot of times about having like a lead magnet, something that you give them as a free offer, like an ebook or some type of potential product or something that's not as expensive to give away for free? Like I thought
Yeah.
having a lead magnet at the end of that funnel process.
For sure. Yeah, that is typically what I recommend at the very beginning. So if somebody is first becoming aware of you, you are still making an offer, but it's a free offer, right? So it's a free. What usually find that works really well is some kind of template or checklist, something that's easy for them to consume. Like they can say, okay, if I get this, I can probably look at this and within 10 to 15 minutes know what it is. And those ads, if you have a Facebook ad going to that kind of lead magnet, it typically costs a little bit less. Not that your whole goal is just to get cheap leads. You want to get quality and qualified leads, but it's a really good way to usher in a lot of new people. If you do something like a webinar is also a lead magnet because it's free for them to watch it. But people tend to associate that with, okay, I'm gonna have to set aside, 30 minutes to 90 minutes to watch it. And so it might be a little bit more costly to get a lead for that because not everyone is willing to make that commitment right off the bat with somebody that they just met. But nonetheless, these are free offers that really get you in front of people and it allows you to get their information so that you can continue to communicate with them and make more offers to your actual paid offer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what I've heard is the consistent approach, especially having those lead magnets to get people to reel them in order to even gain that trust and stay with that point too. Like how have you seen Facebook? I always talk to people who are in the ads and marketing space. Like, how do you see Facebook being more trustworthy than, let's say, Instagram or a TikTok? Even though IG is owned by Meta, like how do you see Facebook being like one of the lead trusted social media applications that people, when they see ads or see different boost posts on Facebook, that it's more trustworthy than other platforms? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Um, if I can be honest, I don't know that it is more trusted. Truthfully, I mean, just as a person who runs ads, I get comments on my ads, and that's another thing. I mean, you have to come into it just with thick skin and really believe in your offer because then there's nothing that anyone can say. I mean, we all know when you put yourself on social media, you expose yourself a little bit to comments of people who were not invited to come and make a comment, but they did so anyway. And so I mentioned that in alignment with the trust question, because no matter where you are, if it's on the internet, people are going to question it. So I would say any app, any internet, if they're first meeting you, they are going to be like, okay, well, let me figure out, is this, something that I can trust, which is why it's important to use the lead magnet because it's difficult to build that trust right away, immediately, but people are like, okay, I can at least give you my contact information, my email address and my name. And, that's not too personal because they can always unsubscribe from your email list if they feel like this is not something that they're interested in. And so the real key comes into building that trust through that email marketing because people are not always on social media anyway, but 9 out of 10 people who have an email address check it every single day. So that you're going to have an opportunity to get back in front of them with that email and to really build that trust. Whereas anything on the internet, like people question it. I would imagine that anyone in this audience at least once or at least close to once has either been scammed or felt scammed. And so people are just like, I don't know, a little standoffish. And so that's where that funnel becomes really important because people want to know, are you real? Are you legit? And also, will your product or service truly help me? So I would say it doesn't really matter which platform. I tend to get more leads from Facebook. There are just more people on Facebook, but people on Instagram are similarly, as trusting or not trusting as Facebook for me.
Yeah, it's always a good question for debate, especially based off of which generation you're targeting. Because as we know, with TikTok, even with IG and even Snapchat, is more for people who are below the age of 24 or 25 versus like Facebook. And then we know YouTube is for age groups that are even all over the spectrum and the generations. So I always like to ask, based off of people that do more targeting on Facebook, like what are their thoughts on Facebook's trustworthiness? And so for those who are just listening for the first time or you're just coming in, we're speaking to Amber McDuffie on how to get clients using Facebook ad strategies. Wisdom or Twitter listeners, if you have any questions for Amber, please feel free to come onto the stage. This is a live Q&A show, and we want to be able to get any questions answered that you may have for Amber. But stay with that point where it comes to what you need to put on, let's say, your marketing ads, like description wise. Can you break down, like even using certain images for flyers that people will see the first thing when your ad pops up? Like what are some quick jewels or some quick tips that you would give someone who's just learning for the first time how to make a description or even how to make a certain flyer for their ad?
Yes. Okay. So if you have a personal brand, meaning you are the main person of your business, especially if you're like a solopreneur, and you interface with your clients, you're the one that interacts with your clients most frequently, then I would recommend 100% that you use your face somewhere in your ad. I had a client recently that, she was a consultant and she just was always feeling like, but there's going to be a point where I may not be the person to deliver the service. Like I have a team, I have other people who deliver it. And I said, but you also are one of those people. And she was the point person for the sales calls. So it is so good to have that introduction right away with your face in the ad. That also can help you build some trust. Now you look like a real person. And it's like one of the easiest ways to build brand recognition, because you are the only person who looks like you, unless you're a twin, right? But as soon as if you come through someone's feed and they see your face and maybe they don't opt in right away, then maybe your ad will come through their feed again. And this next time they're going to recognize you, because brand recognition once again, and they may actually pay attention a little bit more, and you might get that opt-in. So definitely I recommend using your face. So if it's a still image, use your face. And then obviously if it's then a video, then it's you face to camera, talking aloud and using conversion copy to basically tell your audience about you and what to do next.
Yeah. And with the images, do you recommend people take, let's say, like new headshots, or do action images and basically like cut out the backgrounds, or do background removers, like for people who are not photogenic, like yourself, myself, and others who have their face out there for their brand? Like what are some tips that you would give them to overcome that fear of not just being afraid to have their face on the flyer, but even having action shots or some different types of poses for their flyers or video?
So a lot of the times, honestly, some of the so many ads do well that are just regular, everyday shots. So you don't have to have like a professional photo shoot. I, of course, I've tested a lot of different things, and you'll hear people say that, test it. All testing means is give it a try, see if it works. If it doesn't work, try something else, but ultimately, even if you just have a picture of you, let's say, sitting in your home office, let's say it's a video, because I do recommend videos for people who are starting out. If you can work up the courage to talk on the camera, then even if you're just sitting in your home office, you face to camera, you know, it could be a clean background. It could just be a white background, kind of like what you have. Like that is brilliant. And that does really well because then there's, you know, fewer distractions and you can just basically have their attention. And you can basically anywhere where you feel like you are just kind of your eyes are straight ahead to the camera are a great way to start out. Once your audience knows you, you can play around and do a couple of different things. But that face forward, it just catches people's attention really easily and really well. And a client of mine, she tried a couple different things, and the ad that had her face in it, where she was just looking ahead, she was outside, you know, it did well, and it continues. She still has that ad running today.
Yeah, it's definitely something to work yourself up to for those who may be afraid to put their face out there, to put their brand of their image out there and likeness. It definitely works, and like Amber says, because people will recognize you and they'll associate your brand with your image. And so, of course, that goes into like the latter parts, like of how can someone have a successful brand through Facebook ads, and also like what are some things you've learned even for increasing your brand visibility by having your face out there and people being able to associate, just like I did in finding you on Facebook and IG with your ads coming through my timeline. Like, how can that increase your brand visibility, and what are some things you've learned strategy wise along the way?
Yeah. So this goes back to the video when I said using a video is a great way to start, because even let's say my video ad comes through your feed, but you do not opt in. You decided, you know, no, I'm not sure, or that doesn't seem right for me or whatever, you know, but maybe you had enough interest to stop on my video for even, you know, 3 seconds or 15 seconds, and then just decided to scroll on. Well, the way that ads are set up is that you can get back in front of, you can create what we call a custom audience of all the people who watched your video. I tend to choose people who watched it for at least 15 seconds, because that's telling me, okay, they had some interest there. Even if they didn't opt in or if they didn't take the next step, they were interested on some level, right? And so I can capture that audience. I can create that audience and then say, okay, I'm going to create another ad and show it to the people to all the people who watched at least 15 seconds or more of my video. And so by putting yourself out there with the video, then you can get in front of so many more people and get back in front of them, even if they didn't take the first action. So that could end up being like thousands of people, like literally 1,000 people a day will be able to learn about you and see you, and specifically the right type of people, right? Because remember, we're going to choose the right audience for this ad. And you don't have to just let them go and now they're gone forever. You can actually get back in front of them for a second time, or later on if you have a different offer to make, because Facebook saves that audience for 365 days. You can say, I want to show this ad to everyone who watched this video in the last 365 days. So video advertising is a great way to really increase your visibility. And you mentioned before, you said, you know, what if people are a little nervous about like doing this? And a good way to start, if you're on Instagram or even on Facebook, start with stories. Okay, like face to camera, because it's only going to stay on there for hours. Obviously, you can delete it early if you just didn't feel too comfortable about it. But it's just like it's a playground. It's a playground to try video. You can create a little 1-minute video and just kind of until you get comfortable with other people seeing you and seeing your face, but it's not permanent. It doesn't have to live there forever.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. Like Amber is dropping a ton of jewels on us today and letting us know that you gotta be able to risk, not risk it all, but you definitely want to put yourself out there to take some healthy risk in order to have people associate you with your brand. Let's talk about before we transition to our final jewels in a little while. Like, tell us, what are some hurdles that you've seen with your process of learning how to do ads marketing, and like what are some forewarnings that you would tell people who are just getting into this space to not have them give up before they're even able to see the fruit of their labor.
Yes. So some of the most heartbreaking stories I hear from people who have tried ads, they've lost so much money. And it's sad, the numbers that they tell me. I hear people say $4,500 or $7,000. Like, people spending thousands of dollars and feeling like they didn't see any return. And so one huge thing I would say is you have to have a budget, and a budget that is based on a strategy. So even when I started out with Facebook ads, I didn't know how to budget. I was very good at ads to start. I'm just going to be honest. I came out the gates, knocking it out and getting leads at a really good price, but I didn't know how to calculate, profit margins and calculate, how much, how much should I be spending in order to see it back? I wasn't even tracking it. I was just so excited that I was getting sales. I was putting this ad out there, getting these leads and getting sales, and just thought I was everything. But again, like I said before, it's not just about spending money to make enough money to pay back the money you spent. You want to have profit. And so I look back at those years and I'm like, I probably was profitable. Like, I feel in my gut that I was profitable, but I have no idea. I have no idea how much money I really made. Do you know what I mean? So I would specifically say that is something that you need to know in advance, because I feel strongly that the people who came and told me that they lost those thousands of dollars, they would have stopped those ads well before they got to that amount if they had a profit formula, a budget strategy, all of the things that would allow them to say, this ad is not working. Like, let's stop it right now and figure out what do we need to do differently before we keep, throwing money away.
Yeah, because that money, it definitely comes right out of your PayPal account or your bank account that you have associated to Meta. So they collect that check or collect those dollars right away once your ad date finishes. And so like, even for someone that may be on a budget, let's say not of like $600 a month, but let's say they're on more like under $100 or even under $200, like, how days do you think that they should spread out their ads just for those who are budgeting on a shoestring, like we know, Amber, and people that are just bootstrapping their marketing budget, and like, how many days should they spread it out for their ads for those type of budget?
Okay, so if you were to do that, let's use 200. The reason why I want to go ahead, because there has to be a point where you say, I'm going to invest in my business, but we can work with 200 if you're doing it on your own, right? And say maybe you only put your ad out there for a week and a half or 2 weeks, right? I will say it takes some time for it to optimize. Your goal is to get at least 50 conversions on that ad set, and then okay, this is just going to run and it's just going to keep going. Prior to that, you know what I'm saying? Like, until you get that, you can't really know if this ad is going to be a long-term ad. So let's say you are just going to do it for 2 weeks and you're willing to spend up to that $200 or something. I still recommend that you would use a conversion ad if you have a service-based business or a coaching business. If you have something different, then there's definitely other strategies out there to use, but getting leads is so important, because now you're building your email list of people who are targeted. You know that they're interested in what you offer because they were interested in that lead magnet. And now you can get back in front of them over the next however long. You now get to own your audience in a sense, because, it's not dependent on this social media, platform. You can email them any time of day. You can automate your emails out to them. You can download that email contact list and take it to a different platform. Like, you can do so many different things with it, including upload it back onto Facebook Ads Manager and advertise back to your email list. So if you are on just a very small budget, I would recommend to use it to kind of grow your email list of an audience that you can warm up, who is really going to get to know you, like you, and trust you, and eventually make that purchase, whether it's now or 2 years from now, right? They will stay with you.
Yeah, those are some major jewels right there that Amber is dropping on us, because of course, people that are more established in their business, y'all may have that money to throw into some ads of 500, 600, even $1,000 a month. But for those entrepreneurs just getting started, Amber is telling you it's always a good thing to even be doing something versus not doing anything, so that you can find your target audience. And so, Amber, I know we've come to the final jewel segment, where we allow you as our guest. We've talked about a ton of information today for today's episode. We've talked about how you got started into the ad space and coming out of an educator's profession. We talked about different strategies you tell your clients to use in gaining different lead magnets and funnel and setting up your funnel process. Like, what would be a final jewel of wisdom that you would want to leave with the audience that they can take with them today?
Yeah, I would say that not to be afraid to use Facebook ads to grow your business, even if you're new. Because truthfully, you will be able to grow so much faster with a targeted list of people who have demonstrated not only an interest in your business, but they've taken action. They literally gave you their contact information, something that your followers might not have even done yet, right? Followers, sometimes they'll watch your stuff and you hit the like button, but maybe they haven't bought anything, opted into anything, or really showed an interest in doing business with you. Whereas when you use ads, you can start to grow a list of people who are action takers. So even if you're starting with a small budget and just find a way to, just even add 30 to 50 email addresses to my list every single month. Over time, you will see that grow. You will see it grow and have a huge impact on your business.
I love it. I love it. That's a great final jewel right there, even to add to why we gotta be patient, as you've been attesting to everyone, myself included. You got to be patient. You won't always see that fruit show its head right away, but you got to wait till the harvest season. And so, Amber, how can people stay in touch with you if they want to, of course, solicit your services, Queen, or even just network or partner with you? What are some ways that they can stay in touch with you after today?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Amber McDuffie Co. And that's AmberMcDuffieCo. Or you can go to my website, which is ambermcduffie.com. And you can even find some of my free resources if you're brand new to ads and you are like, how do I even write the copy for my ad? So I told you what to do for the actual image. And so now what do you need to write in the ad? And you can get that on either my IG, in the link in my IG, or on my homepage at ambermcduffie.com. And you can download that for free.
Absolutely. And she's very active, you all, on social. That's how I came across Amber again. And so definitely you'll want to go and visit her at her IG at Amber McDuffie CO, and also at ambermcduffie.com. Amber, of course, it's been a pleasure serving with you today, Queen. For those who are listening or catching the replay, if you've been blessed by today's episode, feel free to sow a seed. We always believe in sowing seed into good soil where you're able to reap from. Show you shall be able to receive. And so there's 3 ways to sow. You could either sow a donation via Cash App at SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can click the link that we're putting in the comment section to purchase some of our new merchandise just launched for this Shine, Create, and Pray collection this season. Or you can become a monthly Patreon with us by clicking on the link that we have in the comment section below. But Amber, we always say a special blessing and a prayer over any of our guests that come onto the show for today. I know you dropped a wealth of knowledge onto myself and others who are interested in taking our businesses and even learning more about the ad marketing space. So if it's okay, we'd like to say a special blessing over you to thank you for your time today.
I would love that. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to say a quick prayer over you. Father Yah, thank you for allowing Amber to come on for today's segment and sharing her jewels of wisdom and what you've shown her in business and strategy, and even in building up partnerships and building up people's brands so that they can flourish and that they could also profit from the talents and the gifts you placed inside of us. We thank you for her talents and her giftings, and also for her leadership and showing others how to see through their vision and make it a reality. And we also pray that you will bless her with new clientele, new partnerships, and even new followers and audience members just from her sharing her knowledge and her wisdom with us today. I love you. I praise you. I give you all the glory and honor. And it's in Yahshua HaMashiach, the Christ Messiah, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
We
Thank you
appreciate
so much for having
you,
me.
Amber. Yes. We thank you for coming on for today. Definitely try to get you back for a part 2, and you enjoy the rest of your evening, Queen. And thanks again for sharing the jewels with us today.
Thank you too. Y'all have a great one.
All right, peace. All right, y'all. I'm going to do a quick wrap up for some jewels for thought. You heard from my very special VIP guest, Amber McDuffie, who is telling us the blueprint formula and how we can prosper when it comes to ads marketing, specifically for Facebook. And so if you are someone that is interested in taking your marketing to the next level for your ads and your marketing, definitely you need to go and watch this replay and share this content with someone you know that can benefit from it. And we even have for Smart Media Essentials, we just launched it last year for people who are interested in taking their podcast or their online show more professional and branding their show as an entity. And so we offer different podcasts and content creation show services that you can go to www.SmartJewelzEnterprises.org. That's www.SmartJewelzEnterprises.org to see what we have to offer for you or even your network. Also, you heard me speak about our new merch that we dropped for the Shine, Pray, and Create collection that just dropped this season. You can go and receive some flash sales until, I believe, March 21st for spring coming up by purchasing some of our merch. And so shout out to all of our guests and also VIP donors and sponsors and affiliates that have already partnered with us. But go and get some of your new merch. I'm even wearing one of our Shine hoodies that we just launched for this season. And so, again, go out and create, shine, and even pray your way into success. And so you can catch us, as I said before, on any podcast streaming platform or music streaming platform that you listen to your favorite podcast on. Just search for the Run the Jewelz podcast and you'll see my face, and you can go and listen to our previous episodes going into our future episodes for this season, you all. And so those are all of my jewels for thought for today's episode. You heard Amber say you got to start, even if it's not perfect, you have to start. Even if your face doesn't look right, you still need to start. And even if you're scared, you still need to start because when you start, you're one step closer to finishing the race. And so make sure you start in order to finish what Yah has already planned for you to do. And so keep shining bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be. I'm your host, King Jewel, signing off for today's episode. Stay blessed, stay hydrated until we meet again.